and the Veyron is still doing really well and looking good. Time for another fuel stop.
Lost count now.
And this fuel cost has actually been one of the most expensive parts of owning this Veyron. To actually repair the car, all it took was a fuse, some service parts, and a £40
Monaco's streets didn't know what was rolling in, but they felt it. The satin silver Veyron pulled through and something shifted. Not because of chrome or horsepower, but because everyone could sense what this car actually represented. Phones emerged. Crowds formed. Hannah Smith watched from beside the driver's seat while the Principality realized it was witnessing something Bugatti's entire business model was designed to prevent. Proof that owners could win. But here's what matters. This moment didn't arrive because of luck. It arrived because 2 years earlier, one mechanic looked at a dead machine and decided 3 dealerships were wrong about what was possible. What he discovered next would matter far more than anyone preparing to photograph this Veyron anticipated. Because this wasn't just about fixing a car anymore. This was about proving the system itself was a con. The gearbox was locked, not just frozen, locked. Park position, conversation ended, system decided it was done. 3 certified dealerships gave their verdict within hours, internal failure. Complete replacement, minimum $40,000. One shop actually laughed when he asked if a diagnostic could save the customer money. The laughter should have been a warning. Instead, it felt like consensus. But Matt Armstrong touched the wiring everyone else refused to touch. Not because he was fearless, because he understood the incentive structure completely. Dealerships don't investigate. Investigation means time-intensive diagnostics, risk, liability exposure, sleepless nights wondering if you missed something. Replacement means warranty protection, factory accountability, zero liability if the customer's million-pound machine fails next week. The math is brutal for independent thinking, so they sold the replacement and moved on to the next customer. Matt traced circuits dealerships hadn't bothered examining because they'd already collected the deposit for parts. Found the answer buried in simplicity. A single melted 40-amp fuse, $3. Previous owners had escalated amperage like debugging code. Fuse after fuse, bigger each time, accelerating damage they thought they were fixing. Band-aids stacked until the problem became indistinguishable from catastrophe. When the correct fuse installed, the gearbox answered immediately. No drama, no surprise, the failure was never mechanical. It was the accumulated weight of every wrong assumption nobody had bothered to challenge from first principles. But that was just the opening act. The real confrontation arrived when Bugatti demanded $20,000 for routine servicing. The number wasn't accidental, it was psychology. A price designed to lock owners into dealership dependency forever, whispering that hypercar ownership means accepting hypercar pricing, that resistance is futile, that you're lucky they'll even service your machine. Most people believe this. Most people never learn what Matt discovered. Bugatti doesn't manufacture these machines from scratch. They inherit from Volkswagen Group platforms. The factory keeps this invisible because visibility destroys gatekeeping. Transparency becomes liability when your entire business model depends on perceived exclusivity. Filters available at 1 trials words. 10th markup if you know where to source them. Sensors identical to commercial variants. Spark plugs manufactured by the same suppliers serving ordinary vehicles. The knowledge gap isn't technical, it's weaponized. Fear paralyzed owners into compliance. Insurance companies refused coverage for independent work. Mechanics wouldn't touch hypercars for liability reasons alone. The system had been designed so that knowledge itself became dangerous if you possessed it outside the factory. Matt serviced the entire machine for $1,193.83. Not just functional afterward. Better. Smoother acceleration, sharper throttle response, noticeably improved fuel efficiency. The dealership hadn't been hiding necessary complexity. They'd been hiding something worse. They knew customers were overpaying for mediocrity, and they depended on you never finding out, never comparing, never asking questions that might expose the margin they'd built on your ignorance. The satin wrap was a manifesto written in paint. Glossy finishes are safe. Every factory suggests they're the only option, implying that departing from factory aesthetics voids invisible warranties, damages resale value, somehow diminishes legitimacy and engineering integrity. Satin said this car was reclaimed. Vossen wheels followed. Engineered for hypercar weight distribution without aerodynamic sacrifice at speed, proving that independent engineering could match factory standards. A reconstructed front splitter, obsessively aligned to millimeter tolerances. Then the speed key. Bugatti's $10,000 piece of plastic and circuitry that does nothing cheaper alternatives couldn't accomplish, except Bugatti had decided only they could manufacture it, only they could reprogram it, only they could profit from replacing it. Matt engineered a replacement because he understood the underlying architecture completely. Every dependency Bugatti created wasn't about technical necessity. It was about control. The more owners believed they couldn't function without the dealership, the more compliant they became. The more compliant, the more aggressively the dealership could charge. The system fed itself. Customization stopped being vanity. It became something that looked suspiciously like rebellion. Ownership transformed from permission into reclamation. And suddenly, every modification became a statement that ownership meant something again. Then the fuel pump control system catastrophically failed. Not gradually, literally overnight, without warning, like the machine had decided to enforce the dealership's authority through mechanical force. Dealerships only. $4,500. Mandatory. No alternatives. No discussion. The kind of setback designed to break momentum, to whisper that maybe you shouldn't have tried, that some systems are beyond independent reach, that the factory knows more than you could ever learn. Except Matt knew the truth, the narrative wanted him to forget. Machines this complex are fragile precisely because dealers weaponize complexity by controlling diagnostic software, parts catalogs, repair procedures, and keeping knowledge locked behind certification walls. Hypercar owners never see this. They write checks instead. Matt wrote fewer checks and absorbed something harder. Proof that even perfectly restored machines remain vulnerable to failures only authorized technicians can access. The system wasn't broken. It was working exactly as designed, a self-perpetuating cycle of manufactured vulnerability created intentionally so that owners would remain dependent forever. He paid it, fixed it, kept moving. Not acceptance. Outlasting. There's a difference, and Matt understood it completely. Switzerland first. Roads supposedly reserved for launch control tests only. Dealership publicity circuits only. Factory-approved journeys only. Matt's Veyron appeared in forums, in underground enthusiast networks, in places where these journeys get documented by people the factory can't control or suppress. Skeptics from keyboards everywhere expected catastrophic failure. Suspension gremlins mid-corner, electrical ghosts at highway speeds, 1,000 ways independent rebuilds betray their owners publicly, humiliating both builder and philosophy. The car glided through flawlessly, which felt more dangerous to gatekeepers than failure would have. At least breakage would confirm their warnings, validate their narrative. Success felt like proof they'd been lying all along, that the warnings were marketing, not mechanics. France came next, the spiritual center where Bugatti mythology originated, where brand control was written and rewritten daily to maintain the illusion. A repossessed Veyron, fixed by an American who refused dealership doctrine, now driving through the land that birthed the mark like it owned the streets. Quiet, powerful, undeniable. The irony wasn't accidental. It was devastating. By Monaco's borders, something had shifted in industry attention. The story stopped being about one car. It became about proof that control architecture could actually fracture. That night, the Principality understood what was arriving. Not wealth performance, not supercar tourism, not another billionaire's plaything, but a mechanic dismantling the system that makes owners feel helpless. Every diagnosis independent shops had rejected, but Matt had solved anyway. Every component sourced outside factory channels at 1/10 the price. Every 3 fix that outperformed $20,000 dealership solutions. All of it moved through those streets as evidence that the empire fractured, where nobody was supposed to look. The crowd witnessed what happened when someone refused to believe you need permission to own what you purchased. The Veyron became something that looked suspiciously like the future. The gatekeepers understood immediately what that meant. This wasn't a one-time anomaly. This was replicable. The next rebuild will follow this blueprint, and the one after, and the one after that. Because Matt Armstrong didn't just fix a car. He proved that defiance scales. He proved the system is vulnerable. He proved knowledge is a weapon if you're willing to wield it.